Coming up on Mental Health Marty, we are celebrating Men's Health Month. Stay tuned as we bring our guest in, Dr. Chris Williams. You don't want to miss it. Yeah, what's up, everybody? It's me, it's your host, it's Martina Sellers, your mental health hygienist, coming to you live and in living color, all the way in Southern California, where the sun is always shining. And you know what? Y'all, it's hot out here. But I got my hat on and getting ready for Father's Day. I need to look like a real dad, giving you dad bod, dad hat, dad everything today. Let me know that you're watching. What's going on, everybody? Hope you are doing well out there as we're getting ready. We got a busy weekend going on this weekend. We got Juneteenth celebrations. We got Father's Day celebrations. And listen, don't forget about the dads out there. Listen, let's honor the fathers, those who are fathers, those who have stepped up and stepped in the role as being fathers. But we have an exciting show for you on tonight. So please let us know that you're in here. Let us know where you're listening from. Listen, invite some people in so we can make this a wonderful, wonderful show. But let me give you the disclaimer about the show. Listen up, please. The Mental Health Matters with Marty show is a psychoeducational show that is made and its purpose is for educational tenses only. It is not a replacement and is not a substitute for seeing your therapist, for seeing your psychiatrist, for seeing your dental hygienist, from seeing your medical dentist. Why am I going to the medical right? From seeing your medical doctor, from seeing your priest or anyone else. We are a part of your treatment plan and a supplement tool to support you along this educational journey. Why is that? Because we know too many of us are secretly suffering in silence in the shadow of shame. But listen, we want you to speak up, speak out, and live. Why? Because tomorrow is not promised to any of us. And with everything that's going on in our society, listen, live in the moment. Stay present. I was just talking to a client about that today. Stay present and learn to celebrate you. Why? Because you matter. That's why. Listen, welcome. Let us know you're out there. Who's out there? And if you have comments, how do we see your comments? You got to go to the Mental Health Marty YouTube page on YouTube. That's how you find us. I'm so excited about today's show and talking about that's my mama. The sisters are watching from Missouri. What's up, sisters, aunties, cousin? Yes. Hey, baby, that's my auntie. Yes. Love those ladies out there. I will see you all at the reunion in Ohio. I will be there this year. What's up, Jeff? How you feeling, my brother? Hope all is well. Good to see you. Listen, I heard you. Did you make it to D.C.? Hope you made it there and excited about your journey. I should have had you on the show today as we're talking about men's health. Jeff is a living testimony, y'all, that 80% of strokes in black men are avoidable. But we have to take care of our physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies. Jeff is a testimony of a black man made well who was doing the right things. He was not paying attention to his body, but he began to pay attention to it and began to make life choices. And he is alive and well here today because he changed his stinking thinking and stopped secretly suffering in silence. Yes, man, glad you made it. I got to come out there real soon, man. I'm supposed to be out there in August, at least flying in there, going to Pennsylvania. We got to connect. But anyway, how is everyone doing? Let me know how you're doing. This is Men's Health Month, and I was talking to our guests. I said, I'm not going to be a little bitter, but I am a little salty that on Mother's Day, the mothers don't have to share it on Father's Day. We got to share it with Juneteenth, but that's all right. We're celebrating the acknowledgement of our emancipation as a people. that happened some 2 years later. But we're so glad that still today we're still fighting for the same rights that so many are fighting for. Yes, Miss Tanya Hill, how are you? Yes, thank you for sharing the page. I appreciate all the faithful people. Sister Tanya Hill's always faithful. I appreciate you. Love you, darling. Let's talk about men's health. What about men's health? I'm so glad you asked. Did you know that there are 13% of black men that are 18 years of age and older who have fair or poor health? Let me say that again. 18% of our black men that are 18 years or older have fair, if not poor, health. That's a problem. When we're looking at drugs and alcohol, listen, 30%, almost 31% of men over 18 have had 5 or more drinks in one day, at least one time a year. That can be a problem. What else? We're talking about physical health. Almost 60% of men, black men, 18 years or older, who have met the physical health guidelines for aerobic activity through leisure time, and that's actually a good one that we're finding this. But here's one that definitely overwhelmed me. We still have over 14% of men 18 years or older who are still smoking cigarettes. And we already know what smoking does. And we already know what the tobacco industry does in targeting our black community. Y'all, we got to wake up and pay attention. When we're talking about obesity, this number shocked me. 40.5% of black men 20 years or older are considered obese. Wow, that's a problem, especially when we're dealing with something like COVID. And so, and I'll make this announcement, even say that again on the mortality rate. COVID ranks number 3 in the death rate of black men. Why? Because 41% of us, almost 41% of us, are obese who are 20 years or older. That's a problem. I fall into this next category with those who are 20 years or older. 52% of us have hypertension. Now, I do realize that some of that is genetic, but there's other things that we can do to also help prevent that and make sure we're taking our meds. Make sure that we have proper access to doctors who we will see on a regular basis. Make sure that we're changing our eating. Make sure we are doing all the right things, especially we fathers who are out there who need to be around for our children. And then let me say this other thing. 12.5% of us who are 65 and younger do not have adequate health care insurance. And that's a problem. They were saying the leading causes of death in black men in over these past 3 to 5 years: heart disease. We got to take better care of our hearts. Cancer. We got to get checked for prostate cancer. And are you ready for this? When I read this statistic that came out from the CDC, I almost hit the floor. But then when we're talking about the obesity rate, that explains it why. Are you ready? COVID. COVID is the 3rd ranking cause of death among black men in our community. Y'all, we have to do better. So I'm so excited about our guest today. He's not a guest. Listen, he's becoming like a brother from another mother with that cholesterol. Yes, I hear you. Cholesterol's up there too. And we have to also balance out what is genetic and what is not genetic, and how do we look at that from a different perspective. Y'all, we got to get back to a holistic approach to our health and well-being. But I'm so excited to have back with us for a second time, but he's also going to be back with us next week as we do the series. Stay tuned for the series starting next Monday on The Black Man Made Well, as we have a 3-day series dealing with black and fathers on their stigmas, on their mental health, and their physical wellness and being. But I want to welcome back to the show, all the way from the east side in North Carolina. Y'all heard me say North Carolina. None other than Dr. Chris Williams.
Hey.
Dr. C.
What's up? What's up? I love how you said North Carolina. You sound like
North Carolina.
you from the Tar Heel State.
You know, I hang out there every now and again. Shout out to my boy out there, the Jason the T Mahoney, the great motivator. But listen, how are you, man?
Doing well. Trying to maintain and thrive and adjust to this heat. The last couple of days has been something. So, but
we've been excited. We weren't in the 90s and hundreds today. We're only about 85, so we're excited about that.
Yes.
So that's kind of cool. Yes. Let me tell you, my brother, happy Father's Day coming up to you. Definitely.
Same to you too. Same to you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Dr. C, first remind the people who you are, what you do, how can they find you, and let's talk about some of these statistics I talked about at the top of the show.
Okay. Well, my name is Dr. Christopher Keith Williams, but everybody calls me Dr. Chris or just straight up Chris. I'm a physical therapist by training.
Okay.
And, also I'm a certified health coach, and that's been a great path. It seemed like they were kind of unrelated, but I also DJ on the side as well, and they all just work for me. I think at the end of the day, I was meant to be here to help people and help people in my own way, whether it's helping them rehab through an injury, helping them process. As a health coach, I specialize in helping people learn how to manage their emotions more efficiently, whether or not you're dealing with anger or you're struggling with a tough breakup, especially in the last couple of years, the narcissist word has been thrown around so much, and
it really has.
I think
people, that's the new flavor of the month.
Yes.
Narcissist. I think a lot of people still don't understand the full clinical definition of narcissism. With it, because that is not a that's a whole personality disorder versus a chemical imbalance. When we're talking about some of these other depression and anxiety and some of those are more chemically based, if you will. When we're dealing with narcissism and borderline personality, listen, that's a specialty. That's a personality. All the drugs in the world ain't gonna change that personality.
Right. It's a special case, absolutely. And so yeah, I enjoy it. I think I grew up. Both my parents were social workers. They had their masters in social work, and so I grew up in that household and got to listen to a lot of these conversations and be a part of that. My undergraduate degree's in psychology, so I just really felt like I was meant for this.
You were already called into it. You couldn't help it. You're like, I'm not gonna be like my parents, so I'm gonna go to this physical thing. You're like, okay, I am like my. You know how it is with that. Like, I ain't gonna be like my mom and daddy. I
ain't gonna do it. You were absolutely so right. And then I'm 42 now, so I struggled more with it in my late 20s and early 30s. And now I'm just like, you know what? It's a blessing, and this time I get to do it my way. So my mom taught me how to cook, and it's like, you get the recipe, but then once you know how everything goes together, then you start putting your own spin.
Put your own little. Okay, so we talked about it. You said, man, you was gonna, do a little smoking, a little something on the grill, smoke a little something. So what you know about cooking on the grill, smoking a little something? Come on now.
It's I love grilling, especially I'll grill all year long. It doesn't matter. I've grilled in snowstorms. I've grilled in the rain. I used to take it. We had, my wife and I, before we got married, we had this really crappy apartment we called Shawshank, from the Shawshank Redemption. And there was like, I love that movie.
Yes.
Yeah, don't get me started. And so, we had a hurricane come through, and man, we had wings and burgers and all this other kind of stuff. So this weekend, I'm debating whether or not I want to do a to smoke a chuck roast. I've never done that before.
Okay.
Either that or doing a brisket or a pork shoulder, getting a bottle of bourbon, a cigar, and put my tunes
Yes.
on and just chill out,
Okay.
So,
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
I feel you. I feel you. I feel you on that. Yeah. And love that, man. Let's hit some of these, and I love that you're this certified health coach, because we need that in so many areas. Because I want to later touch about the integrative approach with when we're dealing with our mental and physical health, because a lot of
Absolutely.
times we don't realize how those two play on each other.
Sure.
And if our body is bad, our minds are bad. And when our
Mhm.
minds are bad, it reflects back on our bodies as well, and how we have to pay attention to both. I'm also into this triad that I believe that our spirit has to be right in that as well. So
Yes.
we have this balance that we're constantly doing in that. But listen, can we hit on this thing? Because you're a physical therapist, so I see you see
Yes.
people with all kind of body types, and what is one of the common, maybe the common challenges that you're seeing when people come to you? They although they come for physical therapy, but you notice some other parallels that are alongside that. What are some of the common when your certified health coach hat kicks in while you're also being the physical therapist and all those things? What are some of the common traits and problems or coexisting challenges that you see?
Uh, I would say a lot of, obesity is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
It's, I think you can ask anybody in the rehab industry. It's
Right.
kind of like a rule of thumb. The better shape you're in
Right.
going into an injury or surgery, typically the smoother your rehab's going to be.
Yeah.
And so when you have, obesity,
Mm-hmm.
hypertension,
Yes.
diabetes,
Yes.
you're inactive, you weren't really doing
Yes.
much beforehand, it can all start to play in there. Not to mention, then there's depression. I think, and I love
Yes.
what you said about to me, it's all connected.
It is.
Your back might be hurting, and the source of that back pain might really be your ankle. You might be
Mm-hmm.
surprised. And so I feel
Mm-hmm.
like if that's true, and I've seen that, tons and tons of time, I get to wondering, I'm like, it's all connected.
Mm-hmm.
And it becomes kind of a chicken or egg kind of situation.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think you just have to kind of dig in somewhere, kind of find that lowest hanging fruit that's going to give you the biggest bang for the buck. Because a lot of times it's depression. You got
Yes.
hurt, you're upset because you're hurt, you can't do what you used to do. And so now you have to kind of motivate them, kind of get at the
Mm-hmm.
source of things,
Mm-hmm.
and to really kind of, get at like, okay, Mrs. Jones, why aren't you doing your exercises? Like, you're coming in weak, you're not going to get better. And so that's when they don't typically like this. But I'm like, look, you want them to get better. I got to get to know Mrs. Jones. I got to know what motivates
Yes.
her.
Yes.
I loved doing home health physical therapy because you
Okay.
actually got to see people's homes, their environment.
Yeah. One of the things I think that was really, really good that our industry did not anticipate was when we could no longer see people face to face, and we start doing telehealth.
Mhm.
I actually got to see people in their natural environments, which
Right.
made all the difference. So then light bulbs start clicking. I'm like, oh, now I get why you because we kind of create this when you're doing physical therapy and all these other this false narrative, if you will.
Sure.
Because they're in our environment, but when we get to go in their environment, now we get to see this whole thing of nature and nurture.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. And
Yeah.
what they look. Talk to me. I see you. I see your brain went off.
No, definitely. Yeah, it's like I've worked in a lot of different settings, from sports orthopedics
Yes.
to, skilled nursing, home health. And I always said, especially when I was doing sports ortho on the outpatient side of things, like, they're coming on to our turf. But home
Mm-hmm.
health, like, you got to switch it up. Like, you're
Yes.
the visiting team, and they
Yes.
have the home court
Yes.
advantage.
Yes.
And it's really cool because I think it forces you to get creative, and you don't have all the
Mm-hmm.
equipment, but
Mm-hmm.
hey, you want to be able to get up
That's
and down
good.
from your recliner. Well, great. What better place to practice than your actual recliner than to try to simulate it in a clinical kind of environment?
Right.
So,
I love what you said right there because, and I know we're focusing on men's health, but this is applicable to anyone. You know, you said sometimes you have to be creative.
yes,
And I think that's where a lot of times we lack creativity. Now I go with when you are depressed, when you are sad, and I'm gonna say this even for men. I had a client that I was talking to yesterday. He goes, "I'm just so angry, and people think I have this angry look all the time, and da da da." And I would say anger is a secondary emotion.
mm-hmm. Yeah,
Anger, and what we mean by that, listening audience, is meaning that anger is a result of feeling something else. So when you're talking about someone who's angry, I'm going, so what is the root cause of that anger?
yeah,
And it boiled down to, I knew what it was when I just heard his history, family history, and recovering from 3 divorces, and the children, and this and this. I said, this brother is depressed.
yeah.
And he kept saying, and his key words were, I'm overwhelmed. I'm not happy. You know, so those are, for me, it's like, okay, he's depressed. And we don't like that D word.
No, no.
We don't like that D word. But because in it immobilized him, so he could not get out of bed. He was, and we have functioning depressed people, just like we have functioning alcoholics.
Absolutely.
We have functioning. I felt safer when doing my telehealth session than in my own space. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Talk to us, Jeff, about why you felt safer in that, because that's a great observation that you felt safer when doing your telehealth with that. But I say that what can people do to get out of maybe depression, or when they don't maybe have even all the equipment that might be at home? What are some basic things that we could do that you might even recommend? Physical therapy, physical health 101. What, as a doctor of this, what would you recommend?
First and foremost, I think the biggest thing is you have to acknowledge it.
Ooh,
You just have to acknowledge that you're off. And I think we as men,
yes.
we are so guilty of this because, I was listening to a podcast and we're kind of taught like it was they were talking about pain, and they were like, don't let pain stop you. You keep going and take bare aspirin and all this other kind of stuff. And I think we kind of get into this mode of thinking like, well, I'm hurt. I'm feeling off, but I got to keep going. So I think really the biggest, probably
That's
one of the
good.
most significant things you can do is to acknowledge that you're off. So that's one.
Before you go to number 2,
Go ahead.
Can we? Because I believe that we as black men have not been given permission to acknowledge when we are hurt.
No. I it's funny you mentioned this. I was having a conversation. I'm a self-proclaimed mama's boy.
Okay.
Yeah, and so this is a chat with my mother, and this was a while back, and it's like talking about slavery. Slavery, especially with Juneteenth coming up, it really wasn't that long ago.
No, it
And
wasn't.
when you think about like my mother's grandmother's mother was a slave.
Exactly.
It's not that far. It's not. So you think about like all the things that you learn unconsciously from them.
Come on.
And you have to understand that they were in a different context than we are. And this is kind of the blessing of where we are now. We can talk about how bad things are, but there's also some good in the sense that they didn't have a choice to choose happiness. Their goal was to survive, to survive and advance.
Survive another day. Yes.
And so, and I think some of that, I think this is kind of the ripple effect of not really acknowledging that you're hurt, not really acknowledging your feelings, not talking about it. I think these are all kind of remnant, effects from slavery. And we got to get past that. I feel like, I don't want to say we have to acknowledge it. It's okay to be hurt. That's the thing. And you realize, I was listening to a clip of Mike Tyson, and he was talking about he used to cry. He used to cry before a fight. because he's backstage. He's all, he's got his shirt off. I was going to say he's got his outfit on, but they don't wear shirts. But he's getting into the flow, and he used to cry. And people said, why? He was like, because I got to be that mean dude. And I don't want to do that. And you wouldn't think Iron Mike,
but you can see it if you take the time to really study him. You can see it was a caricature that he had to put on to become this Iron Mike. And then we won't even talk about his first wife, but Robin Givens. But anyway, but you're right. We haven't been given permission to, because I think even some of the messages that we give, because we raise boys and girls two totally different ways. And I get it, because in our community, we have to protect them and teach them how to speak up for themselves. But in that, have we done a disservice with teaching them by saying, man up, all these other stereotypes.
Right.
You all right, suck it up.
Suck it up.
Suck it up. You broke a limb, but you can't be. You're not given permission to cry. Listen, I know when I ruptured my Achilles, I about went crazy. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, this ain't even. I took. But by the time I got to the doctors, I'd already taken about 8 Tylenol.
Marty.
Well, listen, but I wasn't in my right mind.
No, you weren't. That's why you don't get to prep for this.
You don't. And most of us, I believe, even with a lot of and I'm going to say this, a lot of suicide ideation, alcoholism, whether it's accidental or some other things, it was. He says, "Why did you take so much?" I said, "I just need this pain to go away."
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking about, was it safe? I wasn't thinking about that's too much. I'm like, give me 2 more.
Right.
20 minutes later, I was like, give me 2 more. It ain't kicked in yet. And I was at this Christian camp, so I'm not like, give me some bourbon or something like that, help me to, that would have helped, but I couldn't. I was at a youth camp, so I'm like, give me 2 more Tylenol, somebody.
Y'all understand when you're 30 or 40.
Right. So I do think a lot of that is because we have not been given permission to say that we are hurting. And we, especially as men, have to disguise that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll even say this. It's like, not only, I feel like men are we're in a tough position.
Right.
And what I mean by that is when it comes to talking about your feelings and you're hurting, I feel like we don't feel comfortable enough to talk about it amongst other men. That's a problem.
Yes.
And then we don't feel comfortable talking about it to our women. Yes. So it kind of cuts us both ways. And so you either bottle it up. You feel like if I talk about it with my lady, I'm afraid she's going to use that against me later on.
And let's be real. In couples therapy, I talk about it all the time, how the woman now, the wife or the spouse or the partner has thrown that back in their faith and used that to weaponize them when they were at their moment of being most vulnerable.
Right.
And we as men, we have this fight or flight. So like, okay. Oh. You'll never use that one again on me.
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely.
Create these safe spaces. Go ahead. I like what you're saying. Keep going.
No, I like that too. And then it creates this issue. Well, you don't talk enough. Well, when I do talk, how do I know what I'm going to say? And I'm trying to spill my guts out in front of you. And then how do I know you're not going to throw that back at me? Ooh, so then it's just like, it's just easier for me to be quiet.
To be quiet
and to suffer in silence. I think we are super prone. I think women, it's just, they have their own set of difficulties that they struggle through. But I feel like it's more acceptable for women to get together and, hey girl, how are you doing? I'm struggling with this. Yes. Really? Oh, wow. And the funny thing is, like, I'm looking forward. I'm going on a guys trip next week and catching up with my bros and whatnot. Yeah. And you find out, like,
I'm coming on the next one.
Okay.
I'm coming on the next one.
You get there and it's like, these guys are struggling with the same thing.
Yes.
And had somebody not have jumped off the conversation, we'd all be sitting here suffering in silence, talking about,
Yes.
football or baseball. But then when you really get to it, it's like, wow, you too. And then it's
Yes.
like this weight becomes
Lift it
lifted
off.
off of
Yes.
your chest. You feel like you can breathe, you can laugh, and you realize like, okay, they were struggling. Oh, damn! Like I thought I was going through it, but
Right.
they really got it bad.
Right.
So it gives you some perspective, and
But then we
so
as men, we are sort of ways like, ooh, I ain't as bad as them, thank God.
thank
Daryl,
goodness.
can you put that comment that Jeff had put up, my boy Jeff Ladon, where he had put up there talking about that was his. He says, that's what happened to me, and I shut down with
Yeah,
my emotions.
yeah,
How many men have shut down with their emotions? Because oftentimes, and I hear this same thing, Chris, we as men a lot of times know how to be providers and we know how to be protectors, but we don't know how to provide and protect our own emotions.
that part.
We know how to provide and protect financially and physically, but emotionally we struggle with, because let's be honest, women already have 20 to 30,000 more vocabulary words than what we have anyway.
True. True. And they
So
see in more colors than we do. I always joke. I say
they
men only see in 16 colors. We don't see
oh
fuchsia. It's
wow.
just like red, green, blue, yellow. It's all whatever colors come in that crayon. It's 16.
Wow.
We just
But you're right. When we're looking at color blindness, that's most men suffer from some sort of color blindness or can't see all the hues that women see. So of course women are more descriptive. I'm like, just put on the blue dress,
yeah.
light blue or dark blue. Well, do you want the royal blue or the sky blue? I don't know, just the
Oh
blue
man,
one.
we already late. Come on, let's go. Oh, I hope
Since
she
you,
didn't hear me say that. Like,
tell the wife not to watch this one. Don't watch this one. Talk to me about when it comes to hypertension and cholesterol. I started a cholesterol regimen just this past month.
okay,
After fighting it for 55 years, but I know, but when I shake my family tree, I know, and I think it's so important that we as men shake your family. As Black people, we need to shake our family trees.
I
I
like
know
that.
that diabetes runs in my family on both. I know that blood pressure runs on both. I know that cholesterol. There were certain things that I already know run in my family that I tried to fight off as long as possible. My doctor was like, you can't push it off any longer. I held off as long as I can. Now I'm scared that if I don't do these things, if something major happens, you're going to have a stroke. So I'm like,
Yeah,
okay, put me
yeah,
on. Listen,
yeah.
I got too much life in me. I still got to build this multi-million-dollar business
That's
and
right.
become
That's
a
right.
millionaire sometime before I stroke out.
Well, you still have more lives to touch.
Yes,
So
sir. Yes, sir.
no, I remember when I was a student, I did my internship over at Duke Hospital,
Okay. Okay.
and
Duke.
and I would go through and I would look at charts,
Mm-hmm.
and you read the chart and you're about to go in and see the person,
Right.
and it seems like every more times than not, if this were Family Feud, what
Right.
are the top diagnoses?
Okay.
Hypertension,
Yep.
diabetes,
Yep.
high cholesterol,
Yep.
coronary artery disease.
Yep.
And then, you might throw in a history of a stroke or a history of a
Yeah.
heart attack,
Yes.
obesity. All of these things, to me, I feel like they all kind of play on each other. And I would get frustrated
Mm.
because just like I love what you said about strokes, a lot of these things, they can be preventable, they can be prevented.
Yes.
But I think
Yes.
now couple that with, especially in regards to Black men, well,
Mm-hmm.
hell, if I'm not really talking about my feelings, you think I'm gonna really go and talk about my
That's
medical
good.
condition?
That's
If I'm not
good.
willing to acknowledge my pain, it's like it's easier. Just like, man, just let me get through the day, and you just keep kicking that can further and further
Mm-hmm.
down the road till you
Mm-hmm.
stroke out, and then
Mm-hmm.
you're like, oh damn, I should have said something.
Yeah,
Um,
we can't take bare aspirin, cod liver oil, and some black seed oil. Think it's going to be the cure all for everything that we do,
right,
and take this peppermint to wash it down. But
right.
but and why do you think that we as men, because we're the worst? They say that men who are married they have a longer life expectancy, and often go to the doctors more because their
Because
spouses
their wives make them
make
go.
they make them go.
That's why.
They
And
make
that's
them
a good thing.
go.
That's a good thing.
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
yeah, that's crazy. I never heard that stat, but I believe it. And it's one of those, I always said I'm living in this, there's no good and there's no bad. It just is what it
Hmm.
is. And that's great.
Yeah.
That's why I feel like we don't need to be, there needs to be harmony. I think a lot of times, I
Okay,
don't know if
that's
I said
good.
this
That's
last
good.
time we talked, like, equality. I think everybody deserves to be treated with dignity, respect, and have
Yes.
the equal rights to go pursue their happiness, all of that stuff. However, there are going to be some superpowers that I have that you're not going
Yep.
to have. What
Yep.
I want is for us to team up and us to have harmony. Okay.
That's good.
All the
That's
keys on
good.
the keyboard don't need to be played equally. They need to be
Come
played
on.
in the right proportions at the right time to make a beautiful
Yes.
song. And so I think, when you hook up with a sister or your partner, and that's what a partner, you make each other better.
Yeah.
And that's one
I
of those
love that.
things.
I love that.
So,
That's good. That's good. So, we have some what we call kind of 6 plays for men's health. Can we walk through that if you don't mind? So, y'all, we're
no.
going to talk about 6 plays for men's health. And so, we're talking about Men's Health Month. The number one play is we will protect this heart. And we're talking about that heart disease is the number one killer among men, especially black men. What are some things that you recommend? I know we can definitely eat healthier, make better choices. What do you recommend as a physical therapist, as a doctor of this, to better protect our heart?
With that, I would say, you want to check your diet.
That's
Really,
good.
probably some of the biggest 3 freebie things that you can do to kind of kill a lot of birds
Uh huh.
is start cutting out the junk out of your diet. And I'm not saying
Yes.
do it overnight, but over time, like, hey, if you eat McDonald's 5 times a week, can you maybe knock it down to 4 and
Right.
then
Right.
do
Right.
that for a while and then knock it down to 3. So clean up your diet, make sure
Yes.
you're getting enough water, staying hydrated,
Yes.
getting enough water, and then make sure get enough sleep.
Come on and
Your,
talk to me.
your sleep is so crucial. I did a video on this because that's when as a physical therapist, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times you're working people, you're tearing down muscles, and then when you sleep, that's when your body repairs itself. Well, if
Repairs.
you're not
Yes.
getting that, and that's just from the musculoskeletal part.
Yes.
Let's go into the psycho emotional part. That's when you get it. That's when you kind of,
Yes.
if you never do that, you're never really
On
refreshed.
edge.
You're on
Yes.
edge, and that's why you're sluggish. I mean, and it's going to it's going to impact your game. So those are really kind of
Yes.
3 freebie tips that I think
I
are just,
like
want to
it.
take a shotgun approach to it. Going back to the heart, get cardiovascular exercise, and
Yes. That's good.
go for a walk. And it doesn't have to be
Yes.
it's I'm speaking in generalities,
Mm-hmm.
but get out, get moving. I think
Mm.
one of the things my mom would say, sometimes we get so smart that we dumb. And
Come on, mama.
with the technology and all of that other, back when we
Yes.
lived in the agricultural era,
Mm-hmm.
your exercise was built into your day. Well,
It really
now
was.
it's not like that anymore. I mean,
So
unless
for
you
right
live
here
like,
all day.
yeah. And now with COVID and people working from home, at least maybe if you lived in an urban area, you had to walk to work or ride the subway or something like that. But then they were like, no, work from home. So all you got to do is literally roll out of bed, maybe brush your teeth, come
Yeah.
down
Yeah.
and get at it, and then be at it for 8, 9, 10 hours, and go out, get some sunshine on your body,
That's
get
good.
moving. In addition to your heart, because I like what you said, you got to check your stress. You got to
That's
do
good.
those things, that self-care stuff that, and and I think a lot of times guys don't like the wording of things. Call it whatever the
Mhm.
hell you want to call it.
Thank you.
I'm a big
Thank
Star
you.
Wars fan, and so
Uh,
I'm super geeked about the Kenobi series out.
are
So
you have you watched the Kenobi series? Yes,
yes,
yes.
yes, yes. Say,
I
look,
love
I'm
that.
taking this time out and this is my show. Don't nobody bother me. Unless your head is
Right.
falling off, do not bother me. This is my
Right.
time. Yeah, that's why I think I love DJing. I love music. It's just something about music that puts you in a great place. Find
Yes,
those
it
things to
does.
also help take care of your heart, because I think there's an emotional, spiritual part to it,
Yes.
to help
Totally
do
agree.
that. So, in addition to
Let's
the exercise,
Dr. C, can you answer this question from our amazing viewer and listener, Jeff Walker? He says, Dr. Chris, what are your thoughts on juicing or holistic measures for inner healing?
I think it's great. Juicing, we used to have a juicer and we used to do it a lot. It was,
Hmm.
and I'm gonna be completely honest with you,
It's
it was great.
expensive.
Well, I'll tell you what, for us, it was cleaning up the juicer. That was,
Don't you hate that?
that's what did it. I'm a big fan of that's what works. This is what works for us, smoothies.
Okay. Okay.
So we'll take kind of the whole fruit and put some, spinach and some fresh
Ooh,
fruit. Sometimes I'll
yes,
do some
yes.
frozen fruits. And then if you want to put your protein powder or your
Right.
MCT oil or whatever you're
Right. Right.
into, I
Right.
think smoothies are a great way to do that. But juicing's
Love that.
great. If you can get more to the raw and get those raw natural nutrients
Yeah.
that you need, I love it. I think that's great, and I'm a big fan of just doing what feels good. As long, I
That's
think
good.
sometimes we make it too complicated. To me,
Right.
I'm a golden rule kind of dude. So
Okay.
if you want to meditate and burn incense and listen to Sade, and that's what puts you in your place, then go
Come
for it.
on.
Do
What you know
your
about
thing.
Sade? Come on now.
Man, I'll tell you, look, that was probably one of the best concerts I've been to. She came to
What?
Charlotte a couple of years ago.
What?
It was awesome.
Okay, come on with
Awesome.
that. Let's look at number two. Number two is, bro, you don't even have to lift. And that's talking about getting 30 minutes of exercise. I'm going back to what you had suggested earlier about walking or just stretching. Yoga, come on.
Yes.
Yoga is really good. And I got some cats and that's doing, these brothers that's doing some yoga. That is the hardest exercise I've ever had to do. Trying to
It's
balance and stay still and stay focused,
ah,
and the grounding of yoga itself.
yeah. It's
That was
some
some work.
powerful stuff. Powerful
Yeah.
stuff. I've done yoga a couple of times, and I was sore.
Yes.
I was sore the next
Yes.
day. I mean, not bad, but it was like I felt like I did something. I felt amazing.
Yes.
And I know you mentioned you had an Achilles injury,
Yes.
especially as men. This is just an extra bonus tip. We do not stretch. Look,
No.
if your ass is over 30, you need to be warming up. You need to be stretching. Uh, if you want
I
to,
was 33 when I did it. Yes, so I get it.
look, there you go. And
Yes.
so we look, when I was going to the gym before COVID and all of that came and hit, like you see people get in there, they throw their bags in the, they throw their bags in the locker, and then they just start going at it. Like y'all
Right.
don't try to warm up or
That's
breathe,
good.
or
That's good.
this is, to me, this is a marathon, not a sprint.
Yes. Oh, that's
And
good.
so, especially in this age of glamours, like, look, I'm trying to be a grand zaddy or whatever. I'm
Right,
trying to
right, right,
still
right.
be, and it starts now.
That's
So
right. Taking
you
care of your
don't
body and health now. We can't
absolutely. So
wait till we get to that age. We got to start doing the work now.
yeah, the best time, they said the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is right now. So
I love that. I
go
love
for it.
that. Get healthy. Number three, preventative maintenance. I love number 3 with that one. Talking about preventive maintenance, it's about getting your regular checkups, making sure you're visiting your doctor, getting your blood work done. For those of us who are, I think they might even lower it to 40 or 50. I know it's definitely 50, but prostate cancer and looking getting all those exams, and we hate getting poked and prodded. But preventative measures are always better than reactive measures, and it's cheaper on the
Yes,
preventive side of that.
absolutely. Yeah, especially with PT, I've specialized. I'm a functional movement specialist, and
Okay.
so um, really, and I really love it. It's really focusing more on the way people move, and especially when we talk about health. You talk about your medical health, you talk about
Yes.
your emotional health, your financial
Mm-hmm.
health. We don't talk about our movement health, and I think this is part of the
That's
health.
good.
If you're not moving well, pain is not a normal thing. It's a sign. It's
That's
like it's
good.
one of those check engine lights that come on in your car, and yet
Ooh.
somehow we've been conditioned to
To
ignore it.
ignore it.
I bet you if you had a BMW and that check engine light comes on, you will treat that car better than you treat yourself. And
Ooh.
and I feel like we just have it backwards, and then you wonder why you're struggling when you're in your late 70s. When you really,
Right.
I have a patient who's 90, who's in there, who I think she's
Get out
95.
of here.
Yeah, and they're doing it. It's preventative maintenance. I read that, and I always try to think of, look, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready,
Come
and
on. Come on.
and so the
Y'all heard
time.
it from Dr. C.
And so, yeah, you don't want to get poked and prodded. And I guess, my wife recently, she went last week and got her scan. She was diagnosed with stage 2 lymphoma last summer. And so she's gone through her treatment, and
Hmm.
she's doing great now. But
Amazing.
you see all of that, and I'm like, poke, prod, do whatever the hell you got to
You need
do,
to do right.
because it's
Get me
not working.
back healthy.
Exactly.
Get me
Exactly.
back healthy. I love it. Let's look at number 4. Number 4 is quitting time. Quitting
Mm,
time when it talks about smoking. Quitting time when it comes, talk about, maybe when if definitely, and we have to look at the tendency of alcoholism. I'm a one who's a believing that alcoholism can be a genetic trait, especially another learned type of conditioned, and that if you the propensity of you being alcoholic is higher if you've come from alcoholics, or the alcoholism runs in your family trait, and
sure.
so have to be careful of that too. So quitting time, what's your thoughts with that, and making sure we have, I like to say it this way, healthy vices.
Healthy vices. You know, Another one of my momisms. She used to say, "If you work hard, you deserve to play hard."
Okay,
And
yes,
I think what happens is that we often just want to play, and
that's
you don't want
good.
to do the
Yes.
other things. So to me, I feel like what's worked for me,
Uh-huh.
um, if I work out, if I do my exercises for the week that I'm supposed to do, then okay, Friday, Saturday, I can, if I want to enjoy a drink or two,
Right.
then that's okay. It's more about the balance of things,
There you go.
and I think it's just kind of gotten out of balance.
Mm-hmm.
Smoking. I wasn't really a cigarette smoker like that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are, I mean, no judgment. Everybody has their thing, but what the research is saying is like it's not really the healthiest thing you can do, and
Right.
especially if you want to try to quit. Okay, it's tough. It's difficult. I get that. Maybe start trying to cut back.
Mm-hmm.
Quitting time, and this kind of
Mm-hmm.
goes back to what we were talking about. I think we also need to quit putting as men, putting
Yes,
our needs on the back burner.
that's
I
good.
think we need to make that a priority. You can't pour from an empty
That's
cup.
good. That's
And if
good.
you're constantly not really expressing yourself, your needs, like I said, we're in a unique position, because if we talk too much, then oh, well, it's not as bad as I got it. And I'm like, I'm not trying to make it a competition over here. I'm just trying to express how I feel. Okay, I'll just be quiet. Well, then you're not talking enough. You're not present.
That's good.
You know, you have to really kind of say, I'm not happy. You know, anger is a secondary emotion. I always say anger is an outward expression of frustration, fear, or hurt. If you're struggling to figure it out. And so we have to kind of acknowledge when you're off, quit denying it, quit ignoring it, quit putting it on the back burner. Energy is neither created nor destroyed. It's just transferred from one party to the next. And if you don't clear it, it's going to stay with you. We need to put a quit to all of that as well.
Love that. Love that. Got two more real quick. This one is, hey man, you good? Mm-hmm. Now we're talking about our mental health. And I know we've touched on how important our mental health is to us. And y'all, I believe that we have to pay attention to the signs. Stress enters the body one way. We got to help it exit out a certain way as well. If not, I know too many men since the beginning of this year who've gone to the hospital because they thought they were having a heart attack, and it was all anxiety and stress.
Yeah.
Because we're not paying attention to our bodies, and our body is always talking to us.
Yes,
it's always talking to us. So I say, what is your body telling you? Pay attention. Listen to it.
I think that's interesting, especially when you talk about meditation or yoga. I think that's where, and you don't have to get super fancy. I became like a Bruce Lee fan later in my adult life, and he didn't, listen to his daughter. His daughter Shannon Lee has a great podcast talking about his philosophies, but he didn't sit there and do the traditional meditation. His thing was he would go for a jog. And that's what kind of meditate. It's really about putting you in that state of mind where you're just kind of
zoning.
You're just, and you're just like, you can listen, you can receive. Okay, all right, this is what I'm feeling, or I never really thought about it like that. I think constantly mentally we're kind of always on that hamster wheel, and we just don't take a break to acknowledge, I'm a little run down, or I'm worried about this, or I didn't like how so-and-so did me, and I'm mad at myself for not standing up for myself and speaking up.
That's good. Good.
There was a saying when I was pledging, they used to say, if you take the mind, the body will follow. And so you have to get your mental game in check, because it's going to have a potential impact on everything else that you do. And so
and we say it all the time, mind over mood. It really is. You got to put your mind over CBT, classic cognitive behavioral therapy, in that regards. And our last one, be vaccinated, get vaccine ready, in that, and this is all from the CDC and from the Office of Minority Health, and because of that, I think because we're seeing that COVID is one of the third largest killer of we as black men across this country, due to obesities, due to that it was a respiratory disease, so all these things. It's so vital that we do those things. I got the backup booster and everything. I come from the age I was vaccinated always rounds. From chicken pox, I got my shingles one, number 1, and now I got to go back, I think, a couple more weeks to get number 2.
Okay.
Hey, I'm already shot up anyway, so hey.
The way I see it is like life is a game of it's a lot of probability. And
it is.
So, and you have to me, why not do the things you can do to stack the odds in your favor? Right. And I get it, golden rule, you have to do what's comfortable for you. But, for me, I'm in healthcare, I'm around other people. I would feel terribly if I got somebody else sick. And so that's kind of my thing on the vaccines. The other part I hear is, it's not just get the vaccine, but check your diet, check your stress,
That's
exercise. There are a lot of other things you can do to stack the odds in your favor as well. I don't want to say I don't trust anything. I just feel like did I do my best? I want to look back and if I got knocked down and I'm like, okay, you know what, I did the best I could, but sitting here and forgot what you were talking about. Doing the cod liver oil
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
but then you're going to eat a big old bucket of chicken. Well, you know what? That's not really going to stack the odds, and you're
It
probably not
really isn't.
doing, you're probably not doing the best. But if you get the vaccine, you're taking vitamins, you're meditating, you're getting good
Yes.
sleep, you're staying hydrated, you're checking your mental health, your emotional health, all of those things, you're going to your annual visits, all of those. I think that is a very more than solid game plan and approach to
Totally
not
agree.
just combat COVID, but just to put yourself in the best position to be around, not just be around, but be thriving.
That's good.
So,
That's
yeah,
good. That's good. Listen, Dr. Chris, I can't thank you enough for being with us, man, and just really just breaking down what this means. You are always a pleasure, man, to have on here. I keep
thank
telling you, you
you.
got to get a podcast. You need a podcast.
I know.
Later,
I love to
later.
talk. I love to talk too. So,
Yes.
yeah, we'll see. I'm not saying you're not wrong.
Right, right, man. I appreciate you. Love the work that you are doing. How can
Thank you.
people follow you and even get a hold of you if they have questions, maybe?
Okay. Well, I'm on Instagram. My handle is Dr. Chris I am. Is Dr. period Chris period I period am.
Uh
That's
huh.
on Instagram. On TikTok, I've been hanging out on TikTok a lot
You
more
been hanging on
lately.
TikTok?
Yeah, I kind of like it on TikTok. It's
Oh,
I like the feel of it. I'm at Dr. Chris Williams on TikTok. Pretty simple.
love it.
Facebook, I have a public profile. It's just Chris Williams. It's there. It might be difficult to find me because I have a different hairstyle. My hair was grown out, but I have
I
like a
love
blue
it.
shirt on. You can email me at drchris@progressivetransformations.com. And yeah, I love talking about this kind of stuff. I think it's super important and it's vital. I think it's part of the reason why I'm here. And I want to be a part of the revolution that brings balance back
Yes.
to the world. And I think it's
Yes.
definitely doing my part for our community.
Love that. Love that. For those of you on the East Coast, I appreciate y'all staying up late with us. Dr. C, I appreciate you staying up late with us. Miss Versi, good to see you. Jeff, always good seeing you as well. Mama, hope you and your sisters are still up watching us and everything. Listen, so excited. Dr. C, thank you again for being with
Oh,
us and always on standby, man. Much love to you and the family. Again, happy Father's Day to you.
thank you. Same to you, brother. Thank you for having me here. Anytime, let me know. And I'm
Love it.
down. So I love it. It's a honor and a privilege to be here and to be on your platform, and I appreciate it.
Likewise, man. This we here to help better our community. We
Yep.
here. So you all heard Dr. Chris say and talked about this balance that we have to have in this work life and making sure that we are taking care of ourselves. And what does that look like? So I can't thank you enough for Dr. Chris being there to remind us we got to stay healthy. We got to get some exercise in there. We got to watch what we eat. We got to get the checkups. We got to do all those things because we have to do our part. And for all you fathers out there, you have to do your part because we need you. We need you to represent black fathers well and show that we care about ourselves, our families, and our children with that. And listen, one of the greatest public health issues is this: ignorance and poverty. You've been informed, and we want to also give you some resources to help you along the way. We don't want you to suffer in silence, but some of the resources you can do, you can go on Psychology Today. And these platforms we're giving you are going to allow you to look for people in your area that look like you. And you can even do some initial consultations. Goodtherapy.com. There's therapy for blackmen.com. And at one point, they were offering scholarships for those. And of course, my own business, marcelconsulting.com. And we have some amazing therapists, even otros therapists que habla español. But listen, we are so glad that you have joined us today. Join us next week, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 7 o'clock p.m. as we're reintroducing and bringing back our series, The Black Man Made Well. We have all the doctors, the psychologists joining us on Monday night talking about the stigmas. We have these wonderful, amazing therapists on Tuesday night talking about mental health and wellness. And then definitely Dr. Chris is going to be joining us again on next Wednesday and a panel that's talking about our physical wellness and why it is so imperative in our mental health. In this journey called life, again, we don't want you to continue to secretly suffer in silence in the shadow of shame, but we want you to speak up, speak out, and live. And always remember to enjoy your life. We'll see you on Monday. God bless.
Enjoy your life, be free, live life.